Ma'am, நீங்க பண்ணிடுங்க ma'am. Begin பண்ணிடலாம்.
Good morning, sir, and good morning, everyone. Good morning, Deepan, sir. I would like to welcome to Deepan for a wonderful session on the ethics of counseling on behalf of the Red Pond Counseling Center, Madurai, and the Yellow Pond Counseling Center. So, everyone enjoy the session and have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
நீங்க unmute பண்ணிக்கங்க.
Anika, sir.
Hello ma'am, அவர் தீபன். நீங்க unmute பண்ணிடுங்க.
Oh, okay, sir. Sorry. So, yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Chinna mix-up aichu last session. Actually, I was supposed to take on techniques of anxiety and stress, but I took on ethics of counseling. But it's okay. I think that it's a bridging gap because the previous session that I had taken and ethics are closely related, skills of a counselor and ethics. So, rendo pakkathula irundhathu, I feel it would have been better for you to relate and remember. So, no issues. Today we will be talking about techniques to reduce or manage stress and anxiety. So, adha dhaan inik paaka porom. Let me just share my presentation. But you are free to ask me doubts since today is the last session that I'll be handling. If you have had any doubts regarding the past 3 sessions, you're free to ask me. And I'm sorry, I think someone had sent a message. I did not respond to them. Yes, okay. Right. Is my presentation visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. So techniques to reduce anxiety and stress. That is the topic that we'll be seeing today. So before we go into this anxiety and stress, first it is good to know the basics. So what is anxiety, and then what is stress, and then we can go for the techniques. And we'll not be only seeing the techniques to reduce, but we'll be seeing also all forms of techniques, like how to manage it and everything. I want you to remember very carefully that I'm not going to talk about therapy. We are not talking about therapies to reduce anxiety and stress, but rather we are going to look for techniques. So therapies you would have learned in the psychotherapeutic technique. There is about catharsis and exposure therapy and systematic desensitization, and all of those forms of therapies you would have learned during those sessions, DBT and all. So all of those can be implemented for anxiety and stress as well, but we'll be looking at other aspects, other remaining, I mean our excluding all of those that you had learned in that session. What else we can learn new? And these will be techniques that you can practice on your own, and you can also suggest to your client if you are going to take up counseling later on. So these are the easy, manageable techniques that everyone can do. It is not going to be very difficult. Okay, so first of all, what is anxiety? Can someone tell me what is anxiety?
Long-time fear is anxiety, sir.
Excuse me, ma'am. Come again, ma'am.
Long-time fear, it will change into anxiety.
Okay, so you have said about fear. Yes. Long-time fear, yes. In anxiety, the fear is more of a, it is what you call persisting kind of fear is there present in anxiety. So yes. Anyone else? Would anyone like to add on to what ma'am has said? Yes, and as last time, same way, please say your name and then give your response. So anyone else would like to add on to what ma'am has said? Yeah, please go ahead, Payal.
As ma'am said, I want to add to the point that when our ideal self does not match, in that case also.
No, can you come again? I couldn't hear you. Miss Payal, can you say again what you wanted to say? Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
So Archana here.
Yeah, please go ahead, Archana.
I think it is anxiety is something a mental disorder where a person worries a lot. He has a feelings that he is worrying a lot, and I think it.
Okay, so it is somewhere where a person worries a lot, correct? Okay. So you've all given valid points. You've talked about anxiety being something where people are worrying a lot. There is a persisting fear taking place. So basically, anxiety is a state of apprehension or unease arising out of anticipation of danger. Now, this is the main point about anxiety is that there is an anticipation about danger. What is anticipation? Anticipation is nothing but you are expecting. You're expecting that something bad is going to happen, and so you're afraid of it. It is not a kind of present stimulus. Anxiety is not something where something bad, something is going to something is happening right now. Not it's you're not getting anxious because of that thing. You're getting anxious about something that is going to happen. So we're talking about future tense. We're not talking about present. We're not talking about past. We're talking about the future. We get into that more in the next definition. In short, it is being worried that something bad might happen. So it is not about worrying about something that is happening. No, it is not that you're worried about something that is happening in the present. You're worried about something that might happen, that is going to happen. So it is a future aspect. So the symptoms of anxiety, there are physical symptoms and then there are psychological symptoms. Can you let us be a bit interactive? Let's see. Can you suggest physical symptoms that one person might experience in anxiety?
Sir, it's me,
What is
Vishal
uneasy?
Mappan. Uh,
1 second, Vishal. Yeah, Vishal, go ahead.
Heartbeat raising, sir. Sweating, sir. And sweating and shivering also for sometimes, sir. That's also
Very
beat
good.
raising like that. Okay.
Okay, very good, Vishal. Good points. You've listed out the most common points. Now, let's see if anyone can beat Vishal.
So Archana here.
Okay.
I think panic attacks also.
Panic attacks. Good point. Okay. Anyone else?
The dry mouth,
Dry mouth. Very good.
sleeplessness, palpitation.
Okay. Yes, very valid points. Now, you've all talked about physical symptoms. Can someone suggest psychological symptoms? One point about psychological symptom is panic attack. Yes. Okay. What else?
So Archana here.
Hmm.
I think there is one more example is OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder too.
No, OCD is a diagnosis. It is not a symptom of anxiety. OCD is a diagnosis, and it is something that is related to anxiety. But yeah, please can you talk about more symptoms? Generally, let me just make a clarification. OCD and anxiety. OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. In OCD, it is not that you are worried, but you are getting. It's like you're getting repeated thoughts, and due to these repeated thoughts, you're getting worried. So here you're not worried about a future event or something. It is because of these thoughts that you're getting worried, and so you're doing some compulsive act. So that is the slight difference between anxiety and OCD. In anxiety, for example, let us say that you have your exams coming up, or maybe you're going to get married, or you're going to have a big interview that you have to attend for a big company. It's something like that. It's a very huge life event. In those kinds of circumstances, you used to say that it is not. But in the case of OCD, you're having an obsessive thought. This thought, it does not, it can be something like um, there is germs all over in this room. So all the time. If I touch the floor one time itself, I have to keep washing my hands. If I go outside my house and I come back, I have to wash my body. I have to take a bath. Um, if I'm going to touch my legs, I'm going to scratch my legs. All the dirt in my legs will be coming to my into my fingernails, and if I'm going to do anything else, it will spread. So I have to go and wash nails to cut my nails. There's a obsessive thing. For some people, it will be like collecting. I have to collect this. Or for some people, if they see something's a bit adjusted, they will try to adjust it properly and keep it in a very like organized manner. So they keep getting these kinds of thoughts, and so they have to do something. For some people, it doesn't have to be like an obsessive thought only. When I was in during my I think sixth grade, third grade to sixth grade, third standard, sixth standard time, my father, what he used to do is like it's very common. We may have seen some people doing it in our family. My father, he used to do like this with his nose. It's like if you see a rabbit nose, it will be moving, right? He used to do that. So what happened was that I got that thing somehow. I don't know whether I watched him and got it, or I'm not sure about that, whether it happened unconsciously or consciously. But for a point of time, I was doing it very repeatedly. My mother spotted it out, and whenever I did that, I had to do an act. I would remember that I did like that. I would do something like this. It was a compulsive act. Because I've done an obsessive act, I had to do a compulsive act as well. So it's a kind of thing. And sometimes when I'm getting a kind of negative thoughts, I would count within my mind. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. I have to keep on counting. So when I get the thought something that is bad or disturbing, I'll shake my head and say 1 2 3 4 5 inside of my mind. This is a kind of thing that happens in OCD. So yeah, thank you for bringing it up, but we're slightly diverting. So that's a difference between OCD and anxiety. um, Yes, so panic attack. I wanted to highlight this because you brought it up. Panic is something, unlike anxiety, you get these anxiety symptoms to be very blunt and simple. The difference between panic and anxiety is that in anxiety, there is generally there will be a common something that is disturbing you. Because of this particular thing, you are getting those symptoms, and this thing is going to happen in the future. It may or may not happen in the future. But in the case of panic attack, it happens suddenly. There is no reason, but suddenly, for no reason at all, you feel that those anxiety. You feel shivering. You'll feel like the head is spinning. You'll feel difficulty in breathing, and all of those symptoms will start happening. And it will be for a short period of time. It will not be for a long period of time. In the case of anxiety, whenever you're getting the thought, you can be able to easily trace out that when I'm getting this thought, I'm getting worried. But in a panic attack, it happens so suddenly, you will not be able to easily identify it. So that is what panic attack is all about. Um, so with regard to this anxiety and panic attack, uh, it's very difficult to find clinical case studies because generally in YouTube they will not usually record and put up the clinical cases that they are seeing or interviewing, and it is very difficult to identify in movie because in movies it will be exaggerated like that. And day to day life, we need to know the symptoms very carefully in order to be able to learn about it. And so I want to suggest that I told you about that comic book, right? Dr. Frost. It's a webtoon online. In that, there is a chapter where a particular case has social anxiety, and then in another case they will have panic attack. So you can see the difference, stark difference between those two if you're going to go through that comic book. If you have the opportunity, go through it. So yeah, so these are the symptoms of anxiety. And what are the symptoms? You can see that there will be memory issues for the person. There'll be overthinking. This is
Sorry to interrupt there. But I think, is there any device close by to your laptop? I can see echo from the beginning.
oh, okay, sir. Yes,
Can you tell?
yes, sir, I'll turn it off once.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, please excuse me 1 second. Okay, so I hope echo is not coming now.
Yes, sir. Now it is fine, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing it up. Um, so yes, in anxiety, the overthinking will be happening. Overthinking is when, because of that particular incident, let us say this COVID pandemic, many people are getting anxious. Will I get COVID positive? I'm going outside. My father is going outside. My husband is going outside. My child is going outside and playing. My spouse, my wife is going outside. If someone is going outside, we're meeting a lot of different people. What if COVID is coming to the person who's supplying milk to us or groceries to us? What if it is coming to us like that? You will keep on overthinking, exaggerating, and that is a very common symptom in anxiety, wherein a particular thought is blown up. It will be going on and on and on and on. So that is overthinking. Then there's an avoidance. In anxiety, it is basically about avoidance. Because you're getting those kinds of thoughts, you will tend to avoid those kinds of situations. That is a very, very important criteria for anxiety. In anxiety, you will generally avoid. So you will try to escape from that situation or avoid that situation. Because you're worried about that situation, you will try to either run away from it immediately, or you will try to avoid any such situation like that and just travel in a safe path. Sweating, stomach issues, panic attacks, needing a reassurance. You'll be doubting yourself. So you'll keep on asking other people, please, is what I'm doing right? Is what I'm doing right? That is the kind of thought you'll be having. Sometimes you'll ask a lot of people, constant worrying, lack of patience. People who are anxious want the solution immediately because they'll get worried about it, and it will keep on increasing. It may lead to stress. Because of that anxiety, it will lead to stress. There is a difference between anxiety and stress that will go on later on. In the upcoming thing, we'll talk about it. So because of that anxiety, they may get stressed and they will have a lack of patience. They will have difficulty concentrating, procrastination. Because they're afraid of facing that particular situation, they will keep on postponing it. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Let us see next time, probably next time, and they'll keep on postponing it. They will not be ready to face it. There will be trouble, difficulties in breathing. There will be a headache, rapid heartbeat, insomnia. The sleep will be affected a lot. Memory issues will be there. Generally, anxious people will have sleep problems. When you have, when if you're at work, if you have had experience in a clinical setup, what they will do is that whenever a patient comes, he will say, I'm worried about something. My sleep is affected. I'm not able to sleep. He will not talk to you about the problem. He will say that I'm not able to sleep, so give me a solution for sleeping. But if you look into it deeply, you can see that most of the times it will be anxiety only. Anxiety will be a problem. He will have some problem in his family or in his business. He's worried that something will happen. He will have and go into bankruptcy or something like that, and so it will affect his sleep. He will not be able to sleep properly. So in anxiety, generally, you might want to avoid the situation or you might want to escape from the situation. That is what anxiety is all about. But is anxiety a good thing or is it like a bad thing? Can someone tell me?
So for some level, it is a good thing, sir. Sir, it's Vishal, sir.
Yeah.
For some level, it is a good because it will initiate our us to do what it gives some strength for us to pass on the hurdles, sir. So for some level, it is good. For the beyond the level, it will makes us to down, sir.
True, very, very true. You have said the correct core point. To a certain limit, anxiety is good for us. But when it passes out for a certain limit, when it is going above the level, it will start affecting us. And when do we know that it is going beyond the limit? Can someone tell me? Okay, as you have said, anxiety is good for us for a particular extent. But how do we know that it is bad for us? What is that common signs that anxiety is affecting us? Can someone tell me?
Anita here.
Yeah.
If it actually affects your performance, say you want to perform well in an examination, and then you go, you've studied everything, you've prepared well ahead of time, but then if you are not able to perform well in that situation, I think, and you're getting more anxious because of all symptoms like palpitations and dryness of mouth and difficulty to concentrate, I think it's going to be a but if you can convert it, instead of converting that into distress, if you can convert that into eustress and it helps you, I think
Mm,
anxiety is
no.
wonderful.
Please don't confuse. There is distress and eustress. That is completely different from anxiety. We'll go into that. But
Okay.
anxiety is about a future event. So as you said about maybe exam is going to happen next week, I've not studied up till now, I've not attended classes properly, so I'm getting very much anxious, and because of that my performance in other aspects are getting affected. Let us say that let us say that because let us say that there's some exam like a group one exam or a net exam, neat exam, something like that. Okay, let us not take college, because generally we are the kind of people, I don't know, but I am the kind of person who will only study in the last moment. When I was studying in college, only in the last moment I'll be studying. Generally otherwise I'll be updating myself in other aspects, but all of these academic purposes, only in the last 1 week or something I'll be studying. So I think that is, as far as I was, most people used to say that only. Let us say, but net exam or neat exam, some very difficult exam where you know that you are not equipped enough, and you will be worried like about it will affect your day to day life. That is what I'm trying to say. It is not
Okay.
only your performance, but your daily life is affected. Because of this anxious event, you're not able to sleep. Because of this anxious event, you're not able to eat. You're not able to do anything properly. You're not able to drive your vehicle properly, something like that. You're not, you don't want to meet people. So in those kinds of situations, when it is something huge in the future, and then you're afraid of it, then you can say that it is getting bad, and that sign or that symptom is that it is affecting your day to day functioning. That is the only sign or symptom for anxiety.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Amita. So so generally anxiety is nothing but it is a feeling. It is a feeling of worry or nervousness about something with an uncertain outcome. Basically it is an emotion. So how many of you have seen these characters before? And if so, can you say who are these characters or where you may have seen it?
Shall I, sir?
Yes, please.
First one, right side Smurf, sir. Others I don't know the names, sir, but I saw them in character, sir.
Okay, ma'am. A small thing is that these are not Smurfs, but this is from the movie called as Inside Out. It is a Disney movie. It won an Oscar award, I think, in the year of 2017 or 18, something like that. It got an award. So why I brought up this particular movie is that this movie is all about emotions, and over here you can see fear. Whenever that fear is coming, you can see in that there is anxious. That is the second to the last point. Above scared, there is anxious, insecure, worthless, rejected, humiliated. So anxiety is it's a particular feeling. When you're watching this movie, you'll be able to maybe understand it in a much comical way. So that is why I brought this up. Anxiety is basically an emotion. Everyone has this. It is universal. It is like, it is not a bad thing. It is a good thing. If you're worried, you can perform. You'll be motivated to perform certain aspects. If you're worried about your future only, then you will do something in the present to equip yourself for the future. That is basically why anxiety is a good thing. If you're worried about your health, you'll be starting to consume good foods now itself, so that in the future you will not end up with some kind of major illness. So anxiety is of two types. Before we go into this more, we'll just complete it with this. There are two types of anxiety: state anxiety, trait anxiety. State anxiety is when it is a particular, you know, that particular factor which is causing this anxiety. As I said, your business is going into loss, so you're anxious. Will I go into bankruptcy? Will I have to shut down my business? Or I'm having this net exam or neat exam, something that is coming up, JRE exam, something like that. I'm very anxious because I have to prepare for it. I have to pass it, only then I will be able to go to a top college. Or maybe a job, I have an interview to attend. If I ace this interview, then I'll be able to get that job that I want. So all of these kinds of situations, this is called a state anxiety, where there is this particular factor that is influencing this your mind. And whereas trait anxiety is when it is generally that person is having anxiety by his nature. Generally some people, they tend to be anxious by nature. They'll be very careful and cautious. They'll be worried about many things easily. You may have had some friends or family members, or maybe even you may be a kind of person with trait anxiety. And it's not a bad thing to have trait anxiety. Sometimes trait anxiety, if you are a perfectionist or a kind of person who is very, let us say, trait anxiety is very much useful when you are an accountant or something, because you have to be very, very careful of the numbers. So you will recheck it. You'll be very, very careful about it, and about whatever values you're inputting, and the calculations aspect as well. So in those kind of situations, it is good to have someone who is having trait anxiety. If you're a person working for a security company, trait anxiety is a good thing. If you're a police personnel, trait anxiety is a good thing. So in those kinds of situations, you will have a bit of anxiety default inside of your system, so that you will it will help you to be very, very careful and do everything very diligently. So trait anxiety is not a bad thing. Generally, people say if you're having trait anxiety means you'll have a personality disorder of anxiety, anxious personality disorder. You'll have OCPD or something like that. It's not like that at all. It can be a good thing up to an extent. If it is beyond the extent only, it is bad. So generally, anxiety is an emotion, and when is this emotion being coming out? It is coming out only when we are facing a dangerous situation, and in order to react quickly, there's this fight or flight response. If you have heard of it, maybe particular hormones, cortisol and or adrenaline, they are all secreted when you're in a stressful situation, or an anxious situation. I am sorry, I'm using the word stress over here, not stress, something that in the future that is going to happen, so you're worried about it. It is posing as a danger or a threat to you. So to protect yourself from that situation, this anxiety will come up. So over here you can see there are a few examples of where anxiety is a good thing. When you're going to choose your career or your education field, you have to think for the future. You cannot just say suddenly that I'm going to be a doctor. You have to think, being a doctor have a good scope in our country, in my place? If I'm going to stay, am I going to stay in India, or am I going to go abroad, or am I going to go to some other state? So you have to plan very, very properly, and in those kinds of situations, career wise, it is good. Anxiety is good when you're studying for when you're a student, because only when you're a student, anxiety will motivate you for your exam. You'll be motivated to do. You'll be preparing from beforehand. You will attend the classes properly. Whereas if it is in a job aspect, I have to finish this target, I have to submit this report on time, and so you'll be motivated. You'll be anxious to complete your job properly. Parenting, in the parenting aspect, anxiety is a very, very good thing. If the parents are not at all worried about their child, it will become something like a neglectful parenting. We should not have that. We want something like a kind of authoritative parenting. Authoritative means they are equally anxious and caring for the child. At the same time, they would allow the child to take some risk. In authoritarian parenting, the parents will be very much worried about the child's future. They'll be very much influential. That is not good. Should be to a limit. Marriage, when we are entering into a long-term relationship, then in those kinds of situations, it is good to be anxious to choose your partner. You have to think a lot about whether this partner will be right for me, what kind of future I'm going to expect, and so those kinds of aspects as well. Then for security, if you're in a security firm, I'm not talking about security like not only as a security guard for a building or something like that, but I'm talking about in a security firm, like when you have to transport the cash from one bank to another bank, from RBI to another bank, and all of those kind of aspects. When you're taking care of the nation, the security forces like the police, the army, and when you're giving private protection for a particular VIP, all of those situations, anxiety is very, very good, because you have to expect which angles it can happen. Anything that is bad will happen. There's this law called as Murphy law. Anything that can happen, that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That is a kind of Murphy's law. You can maybe Google it. In Murphy's law, there is that if anything has a opportunity or a probability of going wrong, it will go wrong, and you should adopt that attitude when you are in the security aspect, because then only you'll be very vigilant. And especially anxiety is good when you're traveling alone at night, because you may be mugged, or there are chances of you going into some kind of a accidents may happen, something bad may happen. So anxiety and being prepared is always a good thing in case of that. So where is anxiety bad? Anxiety is bad when you're distancing yourself from society, when you're avoiding yourself. Excuse me. So you are avoiding yourself, you're worried about everything, and so you're not talking to anyone. when it is causing you a lot of doubt or confusion, when you're continuously overthinking about it, anxiety is bad. Anxiety is bad when it causes you to worry a lot, and anxiety may lead to depression as well. So as you said, anxiety may lead to OCD. That is, it is not that it is a symptom of OCD, but anxiety may cause OCD. Because of anxiety, because you're worried about something, what happens is that when it becomes very much, as I said, beyond that limit, when it goes beyond that limit, you tend to keep getting this thought a lot. For example, we are worried about COVID now, so we are all meeting the social distancing and the hygiene, we are washing our hands and everything. COVID has gone away, but you still continue to get worried that COVID may be gone, but what if it is still there? What if, unlike COVID, some other illness or disease can come to me? And so you will continue to be worried about your hygiene, you'll be washing your hands, you'll be taking lots of protective measures. And then anxiety can transform into OCD. And these thoughts will be disrupting our life. Next, anxiety is bad when you're escaping, you're running away, you're not facing the problem, you're continuously running away from it, you're avoiding that situation. And anxiety is bad when it is not allowing you to progress, when you're stuck inside of a box. Please remember, I'm not talking about symptoms now, I'm talking about situations where anxiety is bad, and where too much of anxiety can lead to another problem. Too much of anxiety can lead to depression, it can lead to OCD, and it can even lead to some other uh, more problematic issues as well, like schizophrenia or something. When you're too anxious or worried about something a lot, when it goes beyond the limit, it may even lead to psychotic disorders as well. So it is always good to be safe and protected from anxiety. So we will be going into that later on. And yeah, the last point, anxiety, if anxiety is a problem, if it is not allowing you to progress, you're so worried about the future that you think, let us be like that itself, let us be stagnant or stable, and so that nothing bad will happen to us. Sometimes it is good to take risks in order to learn from the risks and better your growth and development as well. So here are some tips to manage anxiety. And first of all, we'll be talking about how to prevent anxiety. So I'm not talking about how to reduce anxiety. I'm saying how to prevent anxiety. Anxiety, before even anxiety happens, how do you be safe from anxiety? You have to be prepared. It is always good to be prepared, to keep yourself equipped with all that is required or necessary. That is important. Next is planning. So you can, if you're properly planning everything and it is happening in a systematic or an organized manner, you will have also expected all of the negative outcomes that can happen. So you'll have a plan A and a plan B. So it is always good. These are things that will help you to be uh, um, um, help you to prevent anxiety from coming. So you have to be very prepared for all the outcomes. You have to have other plans, plan A, plan B, backup plans is good. Practicing meditation is good. When you're practicing meditation, you tend to develop a calm persona. It will, when you're continuously practicing meditation, you will generally be very calm in nature, and your breathing and everything, and so you'll be able to naturally or automatically control your thoughts. So this is something that happens only after months or years of practice only this will happen. So I'm not saying that uh, um, to reduce anxiety, but I'm saying to prevent anxiety itself, it is good to practice meditation. Patience. You have to practice patience. When you're practicing patience, then automatically you will not get anxious. You will be very calm, and so you will wait, because sometimes for a storm to pass away, if you wait itself, it is enough. Some people, they tend to be making lots of abrupt or wrong decisions in the last moment, and so it is good that if you are patient, you can take a proper decision. And assertiveness. Why assertiveness? Because the problem is that when we are anxious in nature, what is wrong is that um, uh, I'm sorry, I mean, sometimes what happens is that we take up a lot of load. This is especially happening in our workplaces, where they will tell us to do something. We will say okay, okay, just to please them, and we will take it up. And at the end of the day, we will not be able to, but we may not be able to complete it. So in that kind of situation, it is always good to say no. And sometimes it's not only workplaces, in our other aspects of life, some people will say, why don't you do this? Why do this for me? Please do this. They will keep on giving you lots of expectations. When your expectations and the expectations of others are not matching, then it can lead to anxiety. You'll be worried. What if this person gets worried that I'm not able to perform properly, or what if I'm not able to satisfy his needs or solve his problem or help him out? All of these aspects will be affected. So it's always good to be assertive. When you're be able to practice assertiveness, you're having a control over your life, and so that way you will not unnecessarily take up any anxiety inducing issues. Next, how to reduce anxiety. um, the first and foremost important thing is to talk to a person. It can be anyone. Sometimes if you are feeling very anxious, you just talk to someone. We talked about catharsis, right? So catharsis, you will feel very much healthy or happy. Once you talk about your problems itself or your worries itself, then your half of the problems will be solved. And it is even better if you talk to a mental health professional who will be able to guide you through this process and help you to reduce anxiety in a systematic manner. Breathing exercise. When you're feeling anxious, I'm feeling so anxious right now, just relax and breathe in, breathe out. So I'm talking about how to solve anxiety that is happening in the present. Before this, I was talking about how to prevent anxiety that will happen in the future. But now I'm having anxiety right now itself. So how do I avoid it? You can breathing exercise, go for breathing exercises. Next, healthy distractions. When you're feeling anxious, distract yourself. You can you can go play video games, watch a movie, talk to friends, play a board game or something, sports, go into some kind of exercise kinds of activities, or you can read a book. The thing is, the point is healthy distractions. It is a healthy distraction when it is in the limit. If you are relying it for all aspects of your life, whenever you're having a problem, you're taking up your video game or going and watching a movie, it is not a healthy distraction. Then it is becoming unhealthy, and it can even lead to an addiction. So it is always good to form a healthy distraction. It can be anything. For example, for me, when I'm feeling anxious, I may like a certain food. I will go and purchase that food and I'll have that food. I like to have coffee. When I'm feeling anxious, I like to go for a movie. For different people, it will be different. For some people, they will think if I'm anxious, a walk is itself enough. For some people, sleeping is good. Anything and everything is good as long as it is within the limit. When it exceeds that limit, it itself will become a problem. That will become a negative coping strategy. Self-motivation. Self-motivation. When you're feeling very anxious, remember to self-motivate. It's okay, just remember, we can do this, I can do this, I can overcome this problem. When you're self-motivating yourself itself, you can be able to reduce this anxiety. Don't focus on the problem but search for the solution. When you're having an anxious thought, analyze why you're having this thought. That is what I'm saying, work on your thoughts. These two are linked together. So you need to take a moment to consciously think about it. You have to work on your thoughts. Why am I getting anxious? What is causing this anxiety? And then you have to, once you identify the problem, the source of the problem, you'll be able to focus on the solution. So how can I overcome this? Generally, it will be difficult for a person to do this. That is why they come to a counselor. A counselor will be able to better streamline this process. But these are activities that can help you to reduce anxiety. So next, what is stress? Now, stress will be a bit easier than anxiety. Anxiety, we have to go through a lot of topics. Stress. So stress refers to physiological or psychological response to internal or external stressors. Particular situation is causing you to feel stressed in the moment. Now I want you to, I will tell you the difference between stress or anxiety. Stress is short term. It is something that is happening immediately. Immediately. Tomorrow you have your exams, today you will be stressed. Or you're writing your exam right now, you will be stressed right now itself. But anxiety, in the case of anxiety, it is something that is going to happen in the future, in the long future, distant future, and so you're worried about it. Whereas in stress, it is something that is happening in the present. This is a common difference. If you're the symptoms, if you see for stress and anxiety, it will be the same, almost the same, not much difference at all. That is why I've not talked about the symptoms of stress in a particular. But if you see the symptoms of stress and anxiety, there's not much of a difference. But the only difference is that in stress, it is happening in the present, and you know the threat. It is a recognized threat. It is short term. So it is something that is happening right now in the moment. Whereas in anxiety, it's something that can persist or linger, and it may be something that may be in the future, or you may have to search why I'm getting anxious like this. It may even be unidentifiable. You have to identify. So generally, the symptoms you will see that in case of stress, it can be there are four types of stress. acute stress, where short term, the due to the stress, the effects of stress are affecting you for a short period of time. Generally, acute, they will say it is for about within 5 days. That is what they say for acute. Within 5 days or 1 week, they will say that is an acute stress. When it is more than 1 week, it is said to be as a chronic stress, where because of the stress, the effects of the stress are affecting you a long time. And this stressful thing can be due to childhood traumatic events like that. So a particular incident is stressful, causing you stress, and it is something that is happening in the present and continuing to happen from the present. So when I'm saying that the chronic stress can stem from traumatic experience or childhood trauma, it can be something that you're continuously going through. Even today, you're having maybe a very bad. If you're a student, maybe your parents are still stressful to you, or some particular traumatic event like something bad has happened in the past, and you're not able to overcome it. That can also lead to stress. So I want you to remember, we're not talking about something that is happening in the future. We're talking about something that is happening in the present or something that is happening in the past. When these two things are considered, it can be a cause of stress. Episodic acute stress is when it happens, it doesn't happen like in a steady flow. It is happening something in like episodes. How to say? You'll feel stressed right now, tomorrow you'll be fine, and then again you'll be stressed the day after tomorrow. You'll be getting the symptoms of stress will be happening over a long period of time, but not in a persistent or not in a stable manner. It will be very abrupt. That is when you say it is an episodic acute stress. Whereas normal acute stress is when it is happening for a short period of time in a stable manner. Chronic stress for a long period of time in a stable manner, the stressful situation is affecting you. Eustress. Now, eustress, you had said that eustress and distress. The first three concepts are called as distress. You can group them together and call them as distress because they're affecting you negatively. Eustress is when the stress is a positive form. It can be fun or exciting. It will give you the energy to overcome some kind of and improve your performance. That is what eustress is all about. So Anita madam had brought it up. So that is why I did not want to confuse stress and anxiety. I'll say it again. Anxiety is something that happens in the future. Stress is something that may happen in the present or something that is happening since the past. Since the past, this thing is continuing to happen, then it is called as a stressful situation. But is stress bad? Stress is not necessarily bad. It is good. When you are crossing the road, it is something in the moment. So when it is something like that, 1 second. Okay. Yeah, is my PPT visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. So back to the topic. When you're crossing the road, you have to be very, very cautious, right? So you're looking at all the sides, and especially when it is a very high traffic area, so you'll feel a bit of eustress. So only if there is eustress, you'll be carefully able to cross the road, especially when it is very high traffic, heavy traffic. Whereas if it is if you don't have stress at all, there may be chances of you going into an accident, especially when you're driving. You have to be very cautious. So eustress is good in those aspects. When you're in a race or a competitive situation, you have to write an exam, or you're running a race, or you have to finish this within a deadline. In those kinds of situations, stress is good. Eustress will motivate you to achieve that. Eustress is good for you to do some kind of hard work. When you want to motivate yourself to do some activity, eustress is a motivator actually. So it will get you to do the job. When you want to take up a risky situation, it's a good thing. Like for example, going on a roller coaster, paragliding, parasailing, and all of those kinds of adventurous activities, those kinds of situations, eustress is what will motivate you to do that, and it's a good thing. When is stress bad? Stress is bad when it is physically affecting you such that it is causing you physical symptoms. It is bad when your performance is being affected. I like to use the word performance. So generally when your daily function is affected, stress is bad. So your performance in job may be affected, or education may be affected, and your eating and sleeping habits are being affected. Stress is bad when it is causing you to feel very much irritated and you're lashing out. All of your relationships with people are getting affected due to stress. and it is bad when it is causing a long-term disorder, like as stress can lead to anxiety. As I said, there is a thing. You see, these are all interconnected. Mental health disorders are all interconnected, and if you dig close enough, if you study a lot, you'll be able to find out that there is a very common solution to all of these problems, and I'll be talking about that at the end of this presentation. So yes, it can, even if you're too much stressed or worried about something, it can lead to depression, suicidal ideations, anxiety, OCD. All of these things can stem out of stress as well. Same way, anxiety and all of these things can lead to stress. So you just need to know the difference between them. One is happening in the future, one is happening in the past and present. So if you know that, if you identify the source of the problem, you can solve out the resulting problems. So they will say, no, if you find the source, you solve the source of the problem, then all the issues will be solved. That is the truth. When you are finding the source of the problem, you can have a long-term solution, more long-lasting solution to the issue. When you are solving all the immediate problems, only the temporary relief will be attained. Now, how to prevent stress? That is the first thing. We'll be talking about three things today with regard to stress. How to prevent stress is the first aspect. I'll be moving on a bit quickly. We have about only 5 or 6 presentations, slides left. So yeah, same as always, be prepared. When you are prepared for everything, you will not be stressed. Being prepared does not mean physically only. It can also be that you have to be prepared mentally, and you have to be prepared mentally and emotionally as well. Sometimes when you know that someone is in a life-threatened or he or she's bedridden, very critical stage in life, it is good to be prepared that okay, anything bad can happen, so you have to be prepared so that you don't get too stressed in that moment, because if you get too stressed, you may get into, you will completely how do I say, you will not be able to do anything. It will affect your functioning. So being prepared can help you to manage the stress and overcome it, even if you're going to get a stressful situation. It is good to take risks. Taking risks is a good thing, because when you're exposed to risky situations, you'll be adapted to it. They say that how to say that, for example, the first day you go to school, or the first time let us say public speaking, when you're talking in a public forum, the first time you'll be very anxious, but the more and more you talk about it, talk in public forums, the fear or anxiety or stress in that situation will gradually reduce. Same way, when you're going to school, something new that I've also mentioned here. When you're doing a lot of new activities, you will diversify. You will take up a lot of different experiences. You will know how to manage those situations. That is what I'm trying to say. So it is good to take risks. Taking risks is a good way to help overcome stress in general. When you're exposed to new circumstances, you will tend to learn a lot, and you will tend to find lots of different solutions to a problem. Whereas if it is a routine activity itself, you will not be able to manage the stress, because every new stress comes out of new situations. So that is why even doctors, when they are the first time they will do a surgery, they'll be very afraid. But when they continuously practice it, they will not be very much stressed about it. They will have eustress to perform the surgery in a perfect manner, but they will not have distress. They will not be worried. So the same way in counseling as well, when we are practicing counseling a lot only, we will have the eustress, not the distress. And we have to be exposed to a lot of different types of clients so that we can equip ourselves. And practicing of meditation is a good way to keep yourself calm and in the stressful situation. And a positive, optimistic attitude, where it's not I can't do it, it is I can do it. That kind of attitude, a can-do attitude, is good. But I would suggest you have to be a realist. Being a realist, see, I talked about it. It is good to have a realistic attitude with a dash of optimism. I said it in a previous thing. So the skills of a counselor. So being a realist will help you know the true negative aspects. If something, this can go wrong, it will help you to know that. But dash of optimism will help you to overcome that negative aspect. That is what I'm trying to say. If you're too optimistic, you will disregard the negative aspect. I don't want you to disregard the negative aspect. I want you to accept that something bad is going to happen, or it is happening, and you have to have the mentality to overcome it, the positive outlook, or dash of optimism to be able to overcome it. So this way you can prevent stress. Now, how not to reduce stress? You would have expected that I would say how to reduce stress, but you see, the problem is we have negative coping in stress. Anxiety, generally, people will not do much of a negative coping, but in stress, you will have a very common negative coping because something in the present. So, how do you overcome it? You can see that there's alcoholism. Please do not negatively cope with stress through alcohol, overeating, or stress eating, video game addictions, binge watching, or self isolation. All of these are negative aspects of overcoming stress. So you should not, I mean, negative coping mechanisms for stress. So these are ways that you should not reduce stress. It is good to a limit. As I am saying again, to a limit it is all good, but when you become dependent on it to overcome your stress, it is bad. How to reduce stress? Journaling is a good way to reduce stress. When you're writing about your day-to-day life events, it is like a form of catharsis. Searching for the solution to the problem. So you're feeling stress, focus on on the problem, and then analyze the problem and find the solution. Having a lot of hobbies is a good way to overcome stress. When you're feeling stressful, some people tend to do camping, some people tend to have pets, so growing pets. Some people tend to draw, some people tend to do gardening, some people tend to do some knitting activities, stuff like that. Traveling, all of these are hobbies that can help you overcome stress, especially in a particular field. I have seen Suresh Kumar sir, what he has a lot of hobbies. What he used to do is photography and traveling. So he'll be working very very hard. If you see Suresh Kumar sir, it is very difficult to get an appointment with him, but he will always fix. Even after 1 week or 2 weeks, he will have, it is a positive role model for stress. That is what I'm trying to say. He will effectively cope up with stress by going for a kind of travel. He will travel somewhere to his native place or somewhere new, or he will take a photography. He will engage in some kind of physical activity. So that is a great way of overcoming stress. So it is not that you immediately do that particular hobby or activity to overcome the stress. You can do it, even you can stockpile the stress and release it at the weekends also, something like that, provided that you're able to do that. If it is not, it is not a cup of tea for everyone. For some people, immediate stress release is required. For some people, you can stockpile it and release it at the end. Working on your thoughts, so analyzing the problems and everything, talking to a counselor. When you talk to a counselor, all of this will become much more easier. Exercising, listening to music, laughter, humor, guided visualization. Guided visualization is when you are focused, you're closing your eyes and distracting separating yourself from the environment, and you're imagining a positive situation. You're feeling it and you're experiencing it. Maybe later on, we can, in another forum, we can talk about guided visualization. Progressive muscle relaxation technique, when you are focusing on each and every muscle part and then stretching it with accompanied with the breathing exercises and the meditation. You mix up all of that, and when you do a progressive PMR, they say progressive muscle relaxation technique, it will help you to relieve the physical stress. That is generally what PMR is good for. And deep breathing is also a good way to reduce stress. Now, the last part of today's session. So we have seen how to reduce anxiety, how to prevent anxiety, how to reduce stress, how to prevent stress, how to not prevent stress. We have seen all of this. But as I said, every problem has a common solution. When it comes to mental health, there is that core concept that you need to follow. If you do this itself, you can protect yourself from most of the major problems in life, and that is called as making changes to your lifestyle. When you change your lifestyle, when you adopt a positive or a healthy lifestyle itself, then itself you will not have these problems. The problem we are all facing is we are having a negative lifestyle. We are getting addicted to something. We are dependent on a particular method. Trial and tested. I've tried this method. This itself is good for me. It is good to diversify. Try to do a lot of things. Make some changes to lifestyle. Add a bit of change to your life. Then only uh, you'll be able to better equip not only stress or anxiety, but anything, even depression or any major mental health issue, you can easily overcome. So you just need to sleep well, you need to eat healthy foods, you need to be able to face the situations in a bold manner, you need to keep your body fit and active, you need to be able to destroy, or you need to be able to change your negative thoughts. That is what I keep on saying, work on your thoughts. You need to work on your thoughts, analyze and find a solution to the problem. And you need to always have a keep smile attitude, where you have an optimistic attitude. That is, not that is a realistic attitude with a dash of optimism. That is what I'm trying to say. So with that, and then there are here the important points to remember. Remember that who is in charge of your life, and take that you are in charge, and that you need to take control of your life. So that is the first point. Next, forgive yourself, be kind to yourself, support yourself. Nowadays a lot of studies are coming in self compassion. Having compassion is good, and then it is also important that you have self compassion or self care. Find the purpose and meaning in life. Focus on why you exist. When you know why you exist, all the other problems will be seeming very much smaller in nature. When you know your purpose or meaning in your life, when you know the ultimate objective, then only all the small issues will be able to manage easily. Focus not on happiness, don't focus on happiness, but focus on achieving that which will cause happiness. Work towards your happiness, but rather than seeking happiness. For some people, that is the thing. When you're having a negative coping strategy, it is immediate solution. You take the drugs, you take the alcohol, you play a video game, you watch a movie, immediately your problem will be solved, but it is only temporary. These are all temporary happiness solutions. Focus on that which will give you a long-term happiness, and get a firm grip on reality. When we are anxious, the problem is that we tend to overblow, overthink. Have a grip on reality, be the present, work towards the present to change the future. That is what we are trying to say. You cannot work for the future, or you cannot change the future. I mean, what I'm trying to say is you have to work in the present so that you can have a better future, or you can change the um, probability of your future. Next, do your best. Always do your best. That is an attitude you should have. Even if it is wrong, do it. Then only you will learn from your mistakes. So you have to have a dash of optimism. This is where the dash of optimism will happen. Identifying the mistakes is the realistic part. The dash of optimism will motivate you to do your best, and then live simple. Yeah, the problem is when you have a very complicated life, when you have too much of something, it will cause a lot of unnecessary stress or anxiety. A rich person will have a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. Why stress? He will think of how he can make more money, or how to manage a lot of things. He will be involved in a lot of different aspects, and so he will be stressed easily, and he will be anxious. How do I protect this money? And so it happens like that. Live a simple life. Live for the present. Think and plan for the future, but live in the present. That is what I'm trying to say. If you have that attitude itself, none of these problems will be there for you. So thank you. That's all for the session.
If you have any questions related to the presentation, I think it was very clear in explaining the concepts. And if you have any questions, if you want to clarify the doubts, if you can take the time now. You can unmute yourself and you can ask the questions. If there is no questions from your side,
No, sir, because it was completely understandable.
Thank you, ma'am.
actually our audio. That no questions from your side, Vishal, you can go for vote of thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Deepan sir, thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session, sir. As you said, we know the problem correctly. We know the solution. We will work out on the solution. As like that, we know about the anxiety and stress, so we can work on that to reduce and prevent and everything. Clearly, you explained, sir. Thank you very much for that, sir. Thank you for the forum. Thank you, friends. Thanks for you all on the behalf of Yellow Pond Counseling and Red Pond Counseling and our Suresh sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, friends.